So today at Watch a Chef, we are going to make arroz con pollo, or yellow rice and chicken. This is probably not only a staple, definitely, of a Cuban tradition, but really it's all over the Caribbean. And I say that because if you go to the Bahamas or Puerto Rico, everybody makes it a little bit different than anybody else. But it's always in the Cuban tradition, made in 4 parts, and that's all you need to know. And anytime you do anything new to this meal is 15 minutes later. So it's in 15-minute increments. The first 15 minutes, all you're going to do is take some olive oil in a pretty big pan, hopefully non-stick if you can. You're going to then put chicken. I like to put basically your thighs with the skin. You have to have the skin there. And drumsticks with the skin as well. And then a little bit of salt. And you are basically going to leave that going for about 15 minutes, turning it over every now and then. But 15 minutes later, we'll come back and do the next step. Now, a little bit of an anecdote to this meal. My mom likes to say this is a muscle dish. You're going to really want to try to fight it. One of the key things about this dish is to almost let it stick, but not let it stick. And so you have to keep watching it. So anytime you see it sticking, that's not necessarily bad, but you do want to fight it and just basically get in there and loosen it up. This dish is also called marching and fighting food, in my opinion. And the dish goes way back to 1898, to the Spanish-American War, because it was made in very big pots during the Spanish-American War, where revolutionary farmers would actually allow the soldiers to come onto their property, grab chickens, and then throw them in this big pot. You can actually make the whole dish in one pot. That's another great thing about arroz con pollo. Alright, so while we're waiting for the next 15-minute increment, we will go ahead and get some pimientos in a jar, in a can, either way. Just go ahead and cut them up, pretty small little pieces. And while we're cutting that, we're going to come back over here. We're about on the 16th minute. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what we're going to do now, as you can see, we're sizzling away. We're going to quiet that down. That's why we want a big, huge pot here. And as you can see, we're going to throw in about 20 ounces of water, and then we're going to go ahead and put our rice in there that already has saffron. There's different ways to do it, but I prefer to just go ahead and get the whole thing in there. And then you're going to want to stir it up, and you see that beautiful yellowish amber color that the water and the rice turns into, and it really adds some incredible flavor. Now once it's in there, obviously now we've killed our really hot sizzling mess, and so we're going to actually turn it up to about high until we get that water boiling, and that'll go on for another 15 minutes, so we'll come on back. So by this time, most of your water has actually dissipated, and you can see that when I move the bottom and do that mussel dish that I told you this is nicknamed, you can actually hear the rice sort of unstick itself from the bottom. And what you're going to want to do now in this next 15 minutes, you're going to want to put about 6 ounces of sofrito. Now, sofrito is really pretty much a mixture or a chopped up version of garlic, peppers, all sorts of vegetables together, but it does come in a condensed, already made glass jar. I would just go ahead and get that. And then you're going to want to put up your chopped up pimientos, put those right on in there, and then again, stir that all up, and now we're going to go from yellow to sort of like a darker version of that yellow, almost an orange, lovely mess. But the yellow will rally and come back in, and when it's all over, the rice would just be basically yellow. And that's what you do. You're going to watch this. Now this is the critical 15 minutes. You're going to cover it, you're going to lower it down, and you're going to be watching. And every 5 minutes or so, just go on in there and make sure nothing's sticking. But you also want it to stick a little bit, because that's the goodness of all that beautifulness coming together. So we'll see you in 15. So now we're down to our last 15-minute increment. This dish is generally, like I said, an hour, broken down into 4 15-minute quadrants. And now you can see that the water's pretty much almost gone. Now this is tricky because you're now in that zone where you could very well burn it. And to put some more flavor and also to put some more liquid in there, we're going to put some beer. I like to put any of the light beers on the market, and you can see that beautiful fizzling. You're not going to taste the beer, but it is going to add a beautiful, beautiful taste to it. It's not going to be beery, so to speak. And then we're going to put our very young, small, early peas. I always love saying that. Very young, small, early peas. Why don't they just say small peas? But they don't. Very young, small, early peas. And basically, you're going to stir that all up. Make sure nothing is sticking. And that's basically it. 15 minutes later, your dish should be done. Arroz con pollo coming right up. So you're now finally ready to enjoy. As you can see, we have a little bit of a soupy mess, but not too dry, not too soupy. Okay, that's what you want. I like it just a little bit, what I call goopy, basically. You take your little chicken here, and you take a good heaping amount of, or a small spoonful of the beautiful yellow saffron rice. And I'll present to you Arroz con pollo.